Hey, this is the Ball Facts Podcast with me, Ball Facts.
And I'm Manny, the voice Alvarez.
Hey.
I am Mr. Butter from the Duck, the GOS.
And I'm Jordy Angela.
Okay, guys, you know the cast. Now get to know them a little better by going to their social media. Links on the screen right now. Don't forget to check them out because everybody on this team is certified. Everybody putting in good work. They got interviews. They got great content. I promise you. Now that those introductions are out the way, let's get to the matter at hand. Today, we're talking about the NCAA, this big news we heard about. They have decided to let players make money off their image. And when I first heard this, I was like, it's about time. Let's go. I was excited, but then I stopped and I said, wait a minute. Are these schools trying to avoid paying them? Because who's making the most money off these athletes? It's these schools. So I think they're trying to avoid the inevitable. They're dragging their feet and they should pay these players. But I'm glad overall. But what do you think about it, GOS?
I think it's a good thing that they're doing it. It remains to be seen the rules and regulations around it. It could open up a whole nother level of corruption potentially. But I think it's good. NCAA is never going to give up the bag. So, I mean, this was to be expected.
That's pretty true. What do you think about it, Manny?
You know, this is NCAA being NCAA. They're going to cut corners. They're going to find a way to, not cough up the cash. If they were going to go with endorsements, they should have done this a long time ago. But GOS, you bring up a good point. I mean, the bad guys, the boosters are still going to find a way to sneak in. There's still going to be some corruption. It's not going to happen as much, but it's going to happen. I mean, I'm just kind of wondering who's going to cough up the money to start an NCAA football game on PlayStation 4. I kind of miss playing that, but yeah, it's NCAA cutting its corners. But I just wish this would have happened a while ago. Maybe we would have had less corruption, and maybe my USC Trojans wouldn't have been in so much fire back in the mid 2000s.
And I agree as well. I think that this should happen a long time ago, but I'm glad that it happened. But I'm still trying to see how the first year goes because I feel like that's going to determine whether players are skipping like college in the NBA, like as far as basketball goes. I think the first year and how it goes is going to determine everything. So they better do a good job because their jobs depend on it.
Yes. And I know the people who profit from this school money got to be sitting in a room and they got to be together saying, how can we not pay them by any means necessary? But some of these kids are going to benefit from this greatly. I always go back to Zion and just the movement that he had. And I know if this guy had endorsement back then, how much money he could have made. I want to ask you, Joy, what type of players do we think stand to make the most from this decision?
I think like as far as basketball goes, it all depends on, who's on there. It's always going to be like the dominant player on the team that's going to benefit the most. Most of the times they're point guards, shooting guards that mainly are like the stars as far as basketball goes, and obviously football, like quarterback, wide receivers, anybody who's dominant, so there's certain teams, college teams, where the center may be the dominant player. Like James Wiseman, he's like a dominant player, he's a center. So it all depends on how good they are and everything like that. So
you're right, because we have to remember, like, we've seen players that were predicted to be the next best Jordan or whatever it was, and they got to the NBA and they completely flopped. Or NFL, they didn't turn out. So who do we think, as far as brands, is going to take that risk and spend money on these players when they haven't been tested and they don't know what's going to happen? Manny, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, some of these high school kids don't transition well in college.
Yeah.
And so maybe they got all that hype. Maybe they have that I don't want to say he's going to have a bust. I have all the best. I hope all the best in Josh Christopher. But I feel he's going to come into college with all that hype, and perhaps that type of hype may not transition, and like I said, may not transition to the NBA. So it's a much more bigger risk here. But I feel those hype players, the guys that you see are cute on Instagram, and flashing and dunking everywhere. They might get the benefit But yeah, it's going to be a big risk to see. Like, let's hope this works. I mean, it's the same thing when you go to the NBA. You know, you put all your money on Christian Laettner and nothing happens. So.
Right.
It also depends on when these brands sign them. Like, are they signing them like before their season starts? Are they signing them during the season? Like, are they going to wait? Like, how is it going to work?
What do you think,
Yeah,
GOS? I think a lot depends on what's really going on behind the scenes. Because don't think for a minute the NCAA is not talking to the NFL, is not talking to the NBA, is not talking to Nike, is not talking to Adidas and trying to figure this whole thing out. So the table's already set. They know exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. We just don't know yet. Yeah. And whatever it is they're doing, you can bet it's going to be to their benefit, their bottom line. They're giving away as little as possible. So that's the thing. They wait, just give it a minute just to see really how it's going to shake out.
Right. Now, I got two things because I already mentioned one of them with which brand would be willing to sign a kid. And I say that because we don't really know what to expect from them. They probably haven't been on the radar that long. You don't know if they're a good role model. Does Wheaties want to put you on the box? And then the second thing is, how does getting all this money as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old while you're in college affect you? Will you really be able to focus on your sport while you got all this money in the bank and there's all these college parties going on around you? GOS, do you think this will affect these students? How will they perform after this?
I think that's a 50-50 proposition. You're going to have some that'll be able to handle it. You'll have some that won't be able to handle it. But again, another thing that we didn't bring up is potentially, let's say Nike could go to Zion if Zion's coming out under this agreement, right? And they say, okay, yeah, we're going to give you a 3-year deal, but you got to stay in college. Remember, I'm telling you, they are working stuff behind. That's a really good point. I'm telling you, there's stuff right now, like they know how they're going to use this to their advantage. and we just got to let it play out because it's going to be interesting.
That is crazy. I didn't even think about it like that.
I didn't think about that either. Guys, if this happens, remember you heard it first from GOS on the Ball Facts podcast. These colleges better not do that. Manny, what do you think?
You know, just like you said, you know, the 50-50, I mean, my mind just got blown, the fact that I didn't even think about that. That's insane. Yeah, I can tell you, here's your money, but you got to stay like 3 years, you know?
That is crazy.
Oh, my God.
That's like a two-way type of thing.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a 50-50. You know, these kids might just brush it off like, all right, I got my money and I'm going to play. But it's more kind of like, what happens if they fall in a slump? All of a sudden now they're thinking, man, I might lose my endorsement. Now it's in their head. And it might affect them in the later games. I mean, it's a small test. I was kind of thinking maybe there might be a second division of endorsements in college, like a FUBU or let's say Big Baller Brand. They might get someone in college, and then when they get the pros, they might go to another endorsement like Nike. You know,
I think you're right.
You might see more companies kind of jump in the line for college, not give as much money, but at least they're throwing something at the kids. And then when they make the NBA, they'll leave and jump for, you know, Puma or Nike or Rock Nation.
Now, Manny, to your point about smaller companies coming in, I think the issue's going to be there. All your universities have a contract right now. Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. How do they do that? And that's my point in saying they're going to work together to make this thing work. I can't see how a Nike school could have a kid sign something with Under Armour that they got to wear different shoes. That's not happening. I know if they do that, I'll be so surprised.
And you know what? I think what might happen is these kids are going to try to find a deal with, let's say, Under Armour, which means all of a sudden that their college of choice is going to be all Under Armour. So I think they're going to find the brand first and then say, okay, well, who's associated with the brand? USC? Well, I'm going to USC. Oh, wait, they're not a Nike school. I'm going to go to Oregon.
Oh, my gosh. That's going to change a lot if that happens.
Corruption 101. That's what it's about to be.
Wow. We're back to step one.
Wow. It's these schools, like, if they made it as simple of the school paying the player, we could avoid all of the corruption, all of the confusion, all of the freaking Royal Rumble that's about to happen. If you make the team, this is what you get paid. If you're a starter, this is what you get paid. So if you ask me, I think they're opening up an unnecessary can of worms, all because they're trying to avoid splitting that money with who they should.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
part of it I feel is already happening right now with high school. A lot of these high schools are already sponsored by Nike or by a Reebok. And I think the coaches are trying to lure their star player to go play for that Reebok school, go play for that Nike school. So I think it's already happening. I think this is more of the there's going to be more added onto it now.
I was going to say the very thing that all those guys at Adidas just got in trouble for, they just made a lot of that legal.
Right.
So
it's kind of like legalizing marijuana, then you got to let a whole bunch of guys out of jail. What do you do when that happens?
It's going to be tough, man. This is really going to be interesting.
Very interesting. Now, I want to switch it up a little bit. We're going to stay on this topic, but I want to talk about college basketball and how many kids have a dream of winning an NCAA championship, and all the players that were really good but skipped the NCAA because they wanted to go straight to the NBA, the Kevin Garnetts, the LeBrons, the Kobes. If they could have got paid, do we think that we would have seen them in the NBA? Like, it's a good topic.
That's touchy because I think that it all depends on the level of endorsements they were getting. Like, for example, if they were looking for like a certain amount of money and the endorsement only gave them so much, they could still skip college and go to the NBA. But I do think that, you know, a lot of players that skipped might have went, especially because players, you know, like the mothers were a lot of times they were pressuring their kids to go to college because that's what they wanted for them. And so I think that getting the money and going be able to go to college and please both sides, I think that would have happened. With LeBron, I'm not sure, but I feel like now because the hard thing is a lot of these players are older now and they value their education more than when they were younger, and so a younger LeBron, a younger KG, it's hard to say, but as of right now, they may be like, dang, that as they're older, they might be able to say like, yeah, like maybe if I went, like if I go back, then, you know, like they would go to college and do like the endorsement thing. So it's hard to say. I feel like it just depends on the player, in my opinion.
I think some of these players would have went to the NCAA, but that's just me. Manny, how about you?
You know, I mean, it depends. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Kevin Garnett went because he just didn't have the grades for college. So it could be just an academic thing. Maybe they weren't focused in high school and it backfired. Another thing, I think it all depends. Do they want to take the risk? I mean, we saw Tua, had an ACL issue. Do they really want to take the risk of taking the money in college and then blowing out your knee and all of a sudden you lose everything you had potentially in the pros? So I mean, it's more. I mean, I know I'm certain Kobe had the grades. I mean, he seemed to be very, very bright. But yeah, I think maybe they try a year in college. Like, let me just get a year in college, because there's some athletes where they leave and say, you know what, once I retire and have my money, I'll go back to college and get that degree my mom wanted me to get.
Like Shaq did. Mm-hmm.
But you might. I think if we would have seen Kobe, I think he was going to go to Duke. He probably would have gone to Duke for a year and then go to the NBA, which, I mean, would have changed the whole thing of what happens if he gets drafted by another team and then there's no trade for Lakers and we miss all that. But just me being a LA homer. But yeah, very interesting. A lot of these players would have
probably at least entertained it a lot more than they did with no money.
It definitely will make for an interesting conversation when Mike Krzyzewski or any one of those guys sitting in your living room. Now they can look at you and say, hey, listen, go ahead and come for a year. You still can make this money. I already got this deal lined up for you. Just give me a year. And it gives you a chance. I'm still making money. I'm growing up as a young man. I think more guys will be apt to do that before they take that leap to the NBA. What is it, 82 games? That 82-game schedule is brutal. College basketball is a cakewalk compared to that. Let me go ahead and get some of this easy money and take it easy on my body a little bit before I go.
I think that is a very good point. What I also think is a factor in it is everyone's dream. I mean, if you watch some of these high school movies to college growing up, everyone's dream is to be the man, not only in high school, but in college. And if you can have that much money while you're on campus, what does every college student complain about? They're broke, they don't have money. You have money. You got all these parties going around, all of the opposite sex around. You got times you want to experiment, you away from home. you gotta know that some of these dudes would love to just get paid while in college. I mean, the experience would be crazy. It would be a movie. Can you imagine the documentaries of some of these dudes on campus at that time?
And
So I guess certain players, like for example, like Kobe's, like what do y'all think? Like, what's the reason, like, why he decided to skip? And he had the grades he had. He was middle class. Like, what do y'all think was the reason why he didn't go?
Look, Kobe went because, first let me tell you what Kendrick Perkins told me. He told me nothing gets you ready for the NBA like the NBA. So Kobe Bryant, think about his mentality. He was trying to get to the NBA as soon as possible so he could be a winner, be a champion. And don't forget, Michael Jordan was on the tail end of his career. He wanted to get in there while MJ was in there, try to win, have a good game against Michael Jordan. Like, Kobe had a mentality where he wanted to skip any mediocre level and go straight to the top.
So I guess for me, I would say that it all depends on the players still, just because there are players out there with that mentality. Like some players may be like, oh my gosh, I'll play with LeBron. He may only have 4 years left, 3 years left, whatever. So it's like, I gotta get there. So, stuff like that could be the reason why people skip. You just never know.
Facts.
That's true.
Okay, now, I got to get to LeVar Ball. See, some of you guys don't want me to talk about LeVar Ball, but I'm going to put respect on his name because he had something to do with all of this. Yes, he did. Yes, I can hear the comments now. Listen, guys, this dude was on media tours. ESPN, Fox Sports, all this, talking about a new league he was bringing out and that the players deserve to be paid. They blocked his son from getting into NCAA, and that will be their biggest regret because that is going to play in their downfall of this monopoly of money that they have been having coming in off the sweat of the backs of these players. Look at Jalen Green now going not to the NCAA, but the G League to get paid. LaMelo Ball went over there and got paid. RJ Hampton getting paid. The ideal. You can try to squash the man. You can try to squash the league, but you won't get rid of the ideal that he put out there. I say LeVar Ball had to do with this. Manny, you tell me, did LeVar have anything to do with this?
That's a rhetorical question. Yeah, that's the LeVar effect. that's exactly what he was trying to get, I keep telling people, I think the JBA was kind of a, whether you thought it was successful or not, played a huge role. Now kids can go other avenues. And now that we're seeing a couple kids leave for overseas or for the G League a lot more than usual, I think NCAA finally woke up and said, all right, this is going to be an issue if we don't take care of it now. And we would have saw a lot more kids jump over to the G League and overseas had they not did, the whole endorsement thing. So that perhaps maybe this is the NCAA panicking, like, oh, we're going to lose all these big guys. We're going to lose all this money. Let's figure something out. But yeah, that was LeVar being LeVar. People thought LeVar was insane about doing it, but it's starting to make a big effect. So like him or not, give him credit. He did this.
And I definitely think that he played a big role in it, but he'll never get the credit because he didn't do it or say it, the way that they would want it to be done or say it. So whether or not, the question of whether he's going to get the credit for it, no. But, I don't think he's got a problem taking the credit. So
he probably called ESPN like, y'all want me on? You know what I'm saying? Now, Joy, what do you think?
I agree again, like he's not going to get the credit. He deserves the credit. He kind of, I'm not going to say he forced their hand, but he sparked the whole idea and put it in action, because people have been saying this for years, but nobody ever put it in action. And so the fact that he put it in action, made his own league, and then you have a few years later, you have people. Well, when did he make it? Like, when did he start the JBA?
2018.
2018. So then 2 years later, you got number one prospect Skip. So it's like he sparked the whole idea and put it into action. And you could say that if it wasn't for him, this probably would not have happened as far as the prospect skip in college, because I don't think it would have happened, to be honest. But he's not going to get the credit. But I'm pretty sure you're going to see him on Undisputed and everything else, and claiming his credit. I'm sure that they're going to ask him that question. He's going to take it. So
facts, Joy. The whole world. I'm not going to say the whole world, but there was a lot of people that thought LeVar Ball was bluffing. He sat at the poker table, and they just thought he was bluffing. But LeVar Ball had a stacked hand. He had 2 top 5 picks in the NBA draft. And so he wasn't bluffing at all when he said, I'll make a league, people should get paid, all that. They're like, he can't do nothing. He's not any different than anyone else. Obviously, they see that they were wrong. He influenced a lot.
I agree.
All right, guys, you know what we do on this podcast. Oh, and I don't want to forget to tell you, go to the social media links of everybody on this channel and get some good gems. And we have more stuff to talk about that we can't talk about here. You might find us on each other's live. You never know what happens. So, Joy, matter of fact, Joy, you tell them where to find you at.
You can find me at Joy D'Angela on Instagram. I just made a YouTube channel a few days ago. Well, like literally yesterday. So anyways, you can find me on YouTube at Joy D'Angela as well. So yeah, that's my YouTube, my Instagram.
Thank you, Joy. And GOS, let them know where to find you.
You can find me at Godfather Speed, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm out there. Come see me.
little buddy.
Yeah, little buddy.
Manny, let them know where to find you.
You can find me on you can find me on Instagram, Manny82. It's MANNYA2. Twitter is MAlvarez02, MALVAREZ02. Yeah, you can find me there. I got a student section website where we cover, school spirit and who has the rowdy student sections, SoCal student sections. We're gonna be changing that name into being all nationwide, but yeah, you can follow me on all that stuff. So
yeah. All right, guys. Get in that comment section. Let us know what you think. Not only what you think, but why. If you disagree, let us know why. If you agree, let us know why. Drop some stuff, because if I see somebody really engaging in the comment section, I'm going to bring you on the podcast. I've been wanting to do that, but I got to find the right person. Anyway, subscribe, share, like the video. Ball Facts Podcast again. Peace.